You can put the presentation once you start, and just for the viewers. Welcome, everybody. Nice to have you all again on this second class that we are having on this aviation honor. It's very, very nice to have you all. Yesterday, we went through what an aircraft is. Those of you who were here yesterday, I hope you all still remember what an aircraft is. What are the different categories of aircrafts, some of the simple categories of aircrafts, and then we dove into the two main categories of aircraft that we use in the modern day for our commercial purposes, which are aeroplane and helicopter, which is a type of rotor aircraft. Okay, so after we finished that, we went to the classes, which are also the different types of engines, which we are going to see today in depth, which you can see here: single engine piston, we have touring gliders, we have single engine turboprop aeroplanes, multi-engine piston, land and sea. So these are the different classes. Also, you can name, these are the different type of engines that aircrafts have. Okay, after that, we have different types, which are both multi-engine piston aircraft that are more than 5,700 kgs and multi-engine turboprop aeroplanes. Those are different types of aircrafts, but can also be under multi-engine or single-engine turboprop. Okay, then we went to special ratings. Night rating is a special rating, instrument rating, flight instructors, aerobatics, agriculture, towing, and a test pilot. These are also your special type of ratings. Then we also went into the whole Bernoulli's theorem or Bernoulli's principle, from where lift is created in a way where the air flowing over the wing produces high pressure below the wing and low pressure above the wing, because the air has to go faster on the over wing and slower on the wing below, and that produces lift. We can just go to the next slide, I think, and there is just a plain diagram of how the wind flows through. Okay. Then we went into the four forces acting on an aeroplane, which was simple: forward force, backward force, upward force, and downward force. Those are the four forces that act on an aeroplane. Okay, then the next we had, okay. All right. So that is thrust going forward, drag is backward, right? It's just a simple animation of how the forces work when the airplane is actually in the air. Then the downward weight due to gravity acting on the aircraft is weight, as we all have it and know it. Okay, and the upward one is called lift. These are the ones that keep the aircraft in the air, and they need to be equal. Okay, we can go to next one. Then we have the different type of axes that are on airplane. We have the normal or the vertical axis that goes through straight the center of gravity, then the longitudinal and the lateral axes. Okay. I think we can skip the videos for people who missed yesterday, and we can jump directly into this, which we are entering today, which is the different types of engines, and we'll see 4 different types of engines today. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a single engine piston. Okay, there are normal pistons on the engine which run normally as a motor. It has a gasket and a cylinder inside which there are pistons, and they have a normal 4-stroke, just like a normal car. That's the way they run. But instead of connecting to wheels, they connect to a propeller. That is how the single piston engine works. Okay, that is just the most basic understanding of it. If we dive more into it, it becomes complicated, but the owner says you need to know the different types. So if you see an engine that looks and has pistons on its sides, and has a propeller in front, it is a single piston engine and is connected to a propeller, which now produces the thrust and speed required to keep that aircraft in the air. This type of aircraft is what we use right now, the single piston engine. So they are most commonly used for light aircrafts. Light aircrafts meaning any aircrafts below 2,400 kilograms or 2,800-ish. So that is the type of weight you're working with if you use a single piston engine for your aircraft. Then we have the multi-engine piston. Some examples for the single engine will be your, sorry, excuse me, your Cessna, your Cessna 172, your Cessna 180, your Piper Cherokees 180, 181, and you have your slings as well. All these of 181 or those type of numberings is just the horsepower of the engine. It's nothing complicated. It's like how you say your bike has 150cc or 200cc. That is how if you say a Cessna 172, it's a Cessna that has a engine that produces 172 horsepower. That is how it works. That is just the naming of the aircraft. So it's easier to name it according to the type of engine it has. All right. Okay. And for the multi-engine, can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right. So for the multi-engine is the same. You can already see in the picture it's 2 engines, like the name says. It's a multi-engine that has pistons in it, and both the engines work as one. I mean, both the engines work individually, separate from each other, but they work the same. I mean, they have the same function, more or less. Yes, so it's the same piston engine on the left and a piston engine on the right. These might be more powerful than the 172s or the 180s, but not by that much. It'll be about 100 horsepower more or 150 horsepower, depending. This again comes into the same category depending on the weight of the aircraft you're going to put these engines on. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Okay, this is just a simple working and understanding of a piston engine as well. These are small aircrafts. Okay, they look normal, just like a normal car engine, but instead of it connecting to the wheels, it is connected to the propeller. They have normal strokes, just working up and down to make the propeller go round. That is the only difference. Instead of connecting to the wheel, the pistons make it move, and they connect to the rotor in front of the aircraft. That is how piston engines work. Okay. We can go to turbo. Somebody said they cannot see. I don't know if. Okay, I hope the person can see. Okay, the next we have turboprop engines. As you can see in the diagram here, they just are a little bit more powerful than a piston engine because they use a gas combustion inside to create what the pistons create. Gibby, uh, sorry, Gibby can't see.
Is there anybody else who cannot see except for Gibson?
You can see it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, Gibson, you may need to swipe because if you're using a phone, that means the slideshow may be on a different window. So you may need to slide a little. Anybody else who does not see? Everybody else can see. So Gibson, just play with your phone because everybody else can see. Go on, sir.
All right, sir. Okay, so in the turbine engine is just a turboprop. It's just a gas. It has a gas combustion chamber instead of a piston and a cylinder where that whole process takes place. So now you can already picture it instead of a piston going up and down inside a cylinder and burning and creating that power to turn the propeller. This does it instantaneously inside a combustion chamber, and then the propellers turn. So this one happens way faster, but then it takes more fuel as well. So that is the difference of why these aircrafts are more expensive, or flying in these aircrafts are more expensive than flying in a piston engine aircraft. Okay, that is where it happens. These engines of a turboprop, they have a chamber, and inside that chamber, combustion takes place. Once combustion takes place, then the propeller moves with that energy that explosion inside the combustion chamber creates. Okay, so for the multi-engine, it's the same thing. We just have on both the sides. And for a turboprop, you have a Cessna Medina, you have an ATR for the multi-engine turboprop. You have the Cessna Caravan as a single engine turboprop. And those are also aircrafts that actually have a nice range to fly with and are not that expensive to handle as well. Yeah, so we can move on. This is also just a simple understanding of how the combustion inside takes place, of where the propeller is added on the extreme left-hand side of the picture where the man is pointing to. That's where the propeller happens. The second part is the gear system to control the speed of where the acceleration of the propeller takes place after the burning of the fuel and the gas. Those gears that you see rotating just after that, and the red color that you see underneath, is the exhaust, where the air is sucked in. Usually we think exhaust is out, but this exhaust takes the warm air around and takes it into the combustion chamber. So it works in reverse. So you go from behind, it burns there, comes from behind the last gear, the second last gear, and to increase or decrease the power of the engine, you just need to change the amount of blades that are in the engine. So the more blades you have in the engine, the more power the more power is going to be produced to the propeller that the shaft is connected to. Okay, So that is basically how it works. That is just the simple working of a turbine engine. Okay. And then the last one we're going to see is a turbofan jet engine. This turbofan jet engine, these are connected to our airliners. These are the airline engines, and the airline engines use these. As you can already see, it has the same working of the gas inside, but as I told you before, there are more blades. So as you can see, there are more blades in the engine. Number one, they'll have more power, but number two, they'll consume way more fuel because those blades need to keep running. So more power, but more fuel. So that is how your turbojet engine looks like in closing. And I will just see how the small, I mean, just the working of it in visual of how.
Push a jet of air out the back. That force is called thrust, and it moves an airplane through the sky. Let's see how it works. A big fan at the front of the engine pulls air around the engine and sucks air into the core. We'll come back to that outside air in a moment. For now, let's follow the air in the core. It goes into a compressor, something like many household fans joined together. Each fan gets smaller and smaller as the blades squeeze the air into a tighter and tighter space, compressing the air like you would squeeze a balloon, until that squeezed air is mixed with jet fuel, a kind of super gasoline. In the combustor, that air and fuel mixture meets a flame and shoots out the back of the engine. The rush of hot air spins a turbine. The turbine is like a windmill that scoops up energy from the heated air and spins the shaft connected to the fan at the front of the engine. The excess hot air from the combustor blows out the back of the engine, producing thrust.
Okay, so that is how thrust, and these big aircrafts stay in the air because they are heavy, number one, and number two, they need a lot of thrust and forward power to get that weight into the air. Okay, so those are the basic type of engines that are used commercially and for training purposes at the moment. And those are the ones that you need to go through and know. Okay, and then for the types of wings, as you can see in the picture, there are different styles or designs that are there on wings. The main ones are low wing. Now, the low wing aircrafts, they are designed that way because they are aerodynamically better, okay? But then at the same time, they need a little bit extra thrust to keep the aircraft in the air. Okay, so if you have a low wing aircraft, if you don't have sufficient engine power, that aircraft is going to fall down quicker than an aircraft that has a high wing. Okay, so if you have a low wing aircraft and you're flying it and you cut your power, and you have a high wing aircraft and you're flying it and you cut your power, the low wing aircraft will fall faster than the high wing aircraft. That is the two differences between a low wing and a high wing aircraft. Okay, so the high wing aircrafts, they are more stable and they maintain and stay in the air for a longer time because of the way they're built. So that is the main two that we use for training, which is a Cessna 172, which is on your right-hand side, which is a high wing aircraft, and a Piper Cherokee 180, which is on your left, which is a low wing aircraft. Okay. Then we also have a dihedral type of wings. You see, a dihedral type of wings is, it comes with an angle to the body of the aircraft. It's not just straight, it comes with a body. So on the left, you see it goes a little bit higher, and on the right as well, it goes a little bit higher, and it's not straight. So that angle that you see, and it's not even that much, it's a calculated angle that they put those wings at. So when they put those wings in that angle, it is called a dihedral wing. So all the big aircrafts use it because of the size of the body. They cannot just put the wing straight, because if they put the wing straight like a normal low wing aircraft, it will not fly because it's too heavy. So they had to redesign it and adjust it. So that design, they call it a dihedral. So the wing creates sufficient amount of lift with its design itself and doesn't need the engine to overwork itself to produce lift for that aircraft. Okay, and that is what they use in the commercial industry at the moment. They use dihedral wings. Okay, on swept back, that is all our, okay, yes, more than 90% of military aircrafts use swept back because they don't want to be safe. They don't, okay, not that they don't need to be safe, sorry. They don't need to be careful, or they don't need to think about the cost. All they need to think about is how fast they can go and how much they can carry. So this type of wings, they are so thin that their design allows them to blast through air. They don't have that much resistance with the swept back type of wings. But at the same time, they need more power to stay in the air. So that's why when you see military aircrafts, they cost way more than what a normal commercial or civilian aircraft would cost, because all they need to do is go fast and carry enough ammunition. So they need to be heavy and they need to go fast. So that type of wing creates so little drag, but it makes the aircraft so unstable that without power and without enough training, you will never be able to operate one of these. Yeah. Okay. And we just have different type of landing gears or special type of landing gears, which are water and snow, as you can see. Yeah, these are the special type. So the landing gear, as previously said, has nothing to do with the aircraft. You can put a landing gear for snow on a Cessna, on a Piper, on a Boeing, on all right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so that is a special type of landing gear. I don't know why my laptop is acting funny. All right, next, this is the most common type of landing gear that we all have seen in aircrafts, which is the retractable landing gear. It's not really a special landing gear, but this is just something that you needed to know, that this is called a retractable landing gear, the ones that we use in commercial aviation and in some of the training aircrafts that we have. Okay.
Being identified by the power source
All right.
and retract the gear.
All right. This is, we're almost nearing the end of our lessons for aircrafts, and I just want one minute of your time. Please just give me 1 minute.
Just a curious question. What
Alright.
do you use the aircraft for in the missionary service for the Lord? Like, what is it being used for?
Okay, exactly. That's why I invited this friend of mine to explain
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
right.
That's why I
You can
wanted
wait.
to finish. Yeah, yeah. I'm just waiting for her to join in, and then she will explain what she does properly for the in the aviation industry as a missionary. Sorry for the wait.
Prashant, you can ask them about their what are they are supposed to do. Also, you can just tell them.
Oh yeah. For tomorrow's class, I would like you all to please find 3 people pivotal in the aviation industry, just 3. And I hope all of you can find 3 different ones, or at least 1 different each, just to know what they've done. And I don't want the Wright brothers as an answer from anybody, please. Like anybody else than the Wright brothers, because they are the most common answer. So just, I mean, it's very openly findable. And anywhere you see anywhere you can find it on Google, and just research just a little bit of your time to find out 3 pioneers in aviation industry and how they were pivotal in changing. Okay. Roland, she says she can't connect.
It's open, they can connect. Just to clarify with everyone, the assignment which is supposed to be done is you got to take 3 historical figures in dealing with aviation. So you can choose. There are many people who you can choose from, and then you learn about them, what contribution they brought to the aviation. So you take 3 figures, you have 3 historical figures, what contribution they brought, and you can write, keep it ready, because then we will put a Google form and then you have to place that all in that. Okay, so it's just 3 historical figures. I'll be putting it in the chat as well, so you guys will be aware of what has to be done. I'll give some names also in the chat. Okay.
Okay, she's here. Hey, Kelly. Okay. Okay. You can pin her to the main screen. That is okay. That is Kelly, everyone. Okay.
Hi,
And
everyone.
Hi as well. Yeah, hello.
all right. She
So,
will explain to you what she does now. All right, Kelly, the time is yours.
hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to meet all of you. Prashant, thank you so much for inviting me to share my story and share what we're doing with the plane project, and just to kind of talk about the work we're doing. So my name is Kelly. I'm from South Africa, from Pretoria, and I founded a nonprofit called the Plane Project. So we fly basic, essential supplies, medical supplies to rural clinics, to clinics in isolated areas, in hard to reach areas in South Africa. We also go to schools and take educational supplies. Yeah, I started doing this last year, and it's just been, the most incredible journey, and I've just met the most amazing people. And as of last week, we've delivered over 150,000 essential supplies to communities that are underserved and underprivileged in Southern Africa. In a nutshell.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered the question of what the aeroplanes are used for in the ministry, or if we can use for in the ministry. And
Absolutely.
if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. She's available to us for a very short time.
And it's been incredible with ADRA, with the Adventist Development Relief Agency, who've sponsored a bunch of the medical supplies that we've taken to clinics. Last year, we were involved in, during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we were involved with the cancer associations, and ADRA, they donated so much PPE and other basic medical supplies that we could give to these cancer health centers. So the church has been involved and active, and we're so grateful for the church and you know what the role the church has played in our missions.
Wow, thank you. That is amazing. Okay, somebody asked you, Kelly, if I was a Pathfinder over there with you, what can I do to help?
So it's, you know, we appreciate as much help on the ground as possible. So on our website, we have our flight plan. So whenever volunteers ask, you know, how can they get involved? When we are on the ground on the other side, you know, to help unpack the plane or to help us go to these communities. Even, you know, if you want to help and you are 1,000 or whatever, 10,000 kilometers away from where I am, you know, wherever you are, the community that you're in, there is always help that is needed. So you can always find, you know, people who need help. And I encourage each one of you Pathfinders to look for whoever needs your help and try and assist wherever you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be in a significant or doesn't have to be in a massive way. You know, anyone can help.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Sorry,
Thank
I
you
see
so,
that the
so
questions
much.
are popping up. I just I missed them because I'm talking so much. I'm so sorry. So so if you can ask me the questions, Prashant.
Yeah, sure. Sure. It's like, where are the training schools and what are the qualifications you need to be a pilot? Okay.
Cool. So training schools, wherever you are, you can find training schools in whichever country. I trained in Prashant trains well in Pretoria, South Africa. So South Africa is the cheapest place to train. To get your commercial pilot's license. So you get a private pilot's license, which you use for recreational use, not for commercial purposes of flying. And then you get a commercial pilot's license where you can be remunerated for your flying. You can work as a commercial pilot. You can fly for commercial purposes. And then you get airline transport pilot's license, which means you can become a captain of an airplane. So if the training goes in those different stages, starts off with private pilot's license, commercial pilot's license, airline transport pilot's license. Training schools, you know, if you look, I didn't know how easy it was to find a training school, but until I moved up to like the big city. I come from a small town and I was not exposed to the aviation industry at all. So I never knew that I can just like go to a flight school and say, you know, I want to see your planes, or I want to go on an introductory flight or a discovery flight, which is like, you know, not super expensive. It's a 30-minute life-changing experience. I mean, you can ask Prashant, it's like an incredible 30 minutes of like, it's your first time in a small plane. And I didn't know how easy this was until I like, you know, Googled and I went to a few different flight schools. But you can find flight schools wherever. You can find flight schools in, you know, any probably major city closest to you. But South Africa is probably the cheapest, best place to learn how to fly to, because our weather conditions are just so perfect. I'm right, Prashant? I'm sorry, you agree, right?
Very, very right. Yeah, that is a nice introduction and explanation of what aircrafts are actually used for and how they can be used for. What you can do is not only as a pilot, but as any Pathfinder help wherever you are. Thank you, Kelly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think somebody has a question.
Yeah. I know it's just an addition to that. For those of you who don't know, Pathfinders, actually, we own 3 planes that are actually flown by Adventist World Aviation. One is in Nicaragua, one is in Uganda right now, and one is in the Philippines. They are doing a lot of mission flights, carrying over medical supplies to unreached areas. And the one that's in Uganda now was in Papua New Guinea, where they say that there are a lot of, and the one that is in Nicaragua was in Peru, in the Amazon area, where they say that there isn't much transport infrastructure that can reach remote villages except for these planes. So in addition to what they can say, if you see in the AWA, Adventist World Aviation website, for those of you who have been to Oshkosh in the Camporee, every Camporee we collect an offering, because this one that is in Nicaragua, I think it's a Cessna 182N, was the engine were just overhauled. And this is a offering that was taken from the Pathfinders. So another way you can participate is give an offering. There is a donation, either to the projects that Prashant and Kelly they're doing, or you can contribute to the Pathfinder plane projects. We have 3 planes now. I think the plan is to buy more and more Pathfinders can get involved into that. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's amazing. And
So
that's so interesting to know.
Yeah, I put the link on the chat.
Thank you so much. That is so interesting to know. I'm definitely gonna, read up more about it. Thank you.
Right.
I had a question about.
Sure.
Yeah. How many flights do you fly in a week? Like the flying hours?
So it all depends. We've been flying every week now. So COVID has been rampant in South Africa. So we've been flying a lot of PPE, rapid COVID tests to isolated areas. So we flew in the Eastern Cape 2 weeks ago. We did 2 flights a week there. It's hard because we need to first secure the funding for these flights before we can, really plan it properly. So for us to be able to do 2 flights a week right now is quite a lot. We started off doing 1 flight a week, and now we do. I would, at the end of the year, I would like to be doing at least 3 or 4 flights a week. But due to funding, we restricted to 2 flights at most a week currently. And then, sorry, how many hours we accumulate? It all depends on where the need is and the area that we're focusing on. So when we flew in the Eastern Cape, we did approximately 4 hours of flying. So we flew to quite a few different villages, but they aren't very far from each other. And we flew to a place called Limpopo, which is in the northern border of South Africa, which was quite far. We did about 6 or 7 hours of flying to 2 different places there. So it all depends on the region that we're focusing on. So we do focus and prioritize where the need is at that moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
If I'm answering, I hope that please stop me if I veer or if I tend to speak, and so please stop me.
All right. Anybody else? Because we are, I think, almost done. If I'm not mistaken, Roland. Because
So for both of you, what drew you to aviation?
Kelly first.
Oh, so my story, I think, is very different. I think if you meet a pilot, a lot of the time they'll say, ever since they were a little boy, usually. But for me, I grew up in a small town, never exposed to the aviation industry. I had never met a pilot until I was in matric, so grade 12. And I wanted to go into humanitarian law. So I wanted to do work in humanitarian service, or just work for the United Nations, or just so that was the plan. And when I went for an introductory flight after I'd met a pilot, I knew that this was a way that I can reach so many people and I can have such a massive impact, because aviation offers this incredible access to places. And I knew that I can fulfill this desire to serve through aviation. And it motivated me from the beginning. I think just having that desire to do more. I knew that whatever I was going to choose, that it would lead to a life of service, and it just happens to be through aviation. Prashant, and I met Prashant like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
I had already started flying, and he knew more about planes than I did, and I know that he's got like a crazy passion for it. So tell us your story, Prashant.
No, for me, when my parents became missionaries, we were flying to Ghana, and we were the only kids in the aircraft. So my brother and myself, we got called to the cockpit of a 747, and ever since seeing those lights, there has been, I need to get in the air. So when I was sitting at home and my dad told me I found a school first I wanted to go to Canada. Canada didn't work out. Then when I wanted to come here, my dad found the school here, and after that it was just, okay, let's go do this. And it's a thing with mission salary sometimes, but you have to wait to fly, because even though we say it's cheap, I mean, what we pay per hour is less than what they pay out there, but it's still quite a lot. So waiting for those hours, and finally when it happened and like you become a pilot, you're like, okay, so I can fly without anyone sitting next to me. I can, go from one airport to the next airport without anybody next to me. I can actually go to another province without anybody next to me. I can take my friend, my girlfriend. Oh my goodness, then it starts becoming real, and you want to see yourself where you pictured yourself in the beginning of sitting there and making that announcement that this is your captain speaking. Please fasten your seatbelts, get ready for takeoff. And you just see yourself there. It's like, you can't waste any opportunity given to you to get to where you're going. So just grab any small thing. You fly with anybody, get some knowledge. You listen to anybody talking about flying, get some knowledge. Because there was something that my instructor told me, and it stuck with me, that a good pilot is always learning. And at that point of time, he was the chief flight instructor of the school. And for somebody in that position to tell you that he is still learning, even though he's in that position, it makes you think of how little you actually know. So then you always want to keep striving and striving and striving. So that's the story of how I'm here now, because I can't wait to get into that picture of inside that cockpit. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
all right.
awesome, Prashant.
If you guys want to become pilots, trust me, it's not hard. It's just you need to know that you love it, because I've seen a lot of friends of mine, when they come and start doing aviation, they get sidetracked into the life that it brings and not what the life is about. Because you think you see a pilot and the life is so good, but in reality, the struggles that you go through in the end, when you land, you're always, if that angel is not sitting next to me, or if God is not with me, I can't fly this, or I'm not capable of doing this without my God's help. And as a pathfinder, that should really stick with you, that the memory verses you guys learn or recite, or it might seem a little bit, hey man, Matthew, what to study about Matthew 28? It's just the gospel commission, go spread the gospel. And you don't think that it might sit with you after all these years of, spreading the gospel, even though I'm flying, I can do it in a simple, humble way of I get my experience, but doing something for the God who actually brought me this far will only bless me more. It's never going to hurt me. So that is, I think, one of the biggest things that brought me here. All right, sorry guys, that was a long story. So just waiting for anybody else who has a question. If not, we can keep and then we join tomorrow's class for the remaining and then we finish off, guys. And Kelly, thank you so much for taking our
Thank
time
you,
and joining
guys.
us. Thank you
Thank you
so
guys
much.
so much. It was so nice chatting to you. Thanks for letting me share my story and, you know, sending everyone all my best wishes and love and prayers. And I hope that one day, sometime in the world, our paths cross and we can meet each other. But thanks, Prashant, and I'll see you in the sky.
For sure. We will fly soon. All right, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I hope that was touching. And now that you know aircrafts can be used to actually go into missionary work, it's something that is not common, but it's actually very doable with sufficient funding. But you know, we don't look at it right now as funding, but we enjoy it and we fly any opportunity we get to fly. So I hope everybody will join in tomorrow. We have just the parts of the aircraft, the instruments left. Then we have the helicopter and how it works, which is a pretty simple explanation of a rotary type of vertical takeoff and vertical landing. And then we'll do simple types of aircraft, which are powered lift, which you have, you know, your drones, and all of them are vertical takeoff. So once we finish that, God willing, by Friday, if everybody is available, I should go and test out how this video blog should go, and we can do a practical flight in the air while being on a call, and I can answer your questions in the air, hopefully by Friday. If not, I promise you all that we will do it on a later date by next week, hopefully once the COVID situation in South Africa reduces, we will do an intro flight for sure. But I promise to take you all and show you the flights, how a Beechcraft looks, how a Cessna 310 twin engine looks, how a retractable gear looks, how a fixed gear looks like. I will go through and see all that in live, so you have actually seen it with your eyes and not actually just in pictures. So we will do that on a later date, tomorrow, hopefully. Thank you all for joining.